Hi, friends. Welcome to Race to Rise podcast, a place where we discuss bite sized wisdom nuggets with easy to follow practices to live a better life. I am your host, Mital Patel, a parenting junkie, Ayurveda enthusiast, and an advocate of conscious living. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Race to Rise podcast, where we bring you a special guest. You are going to be mind blown. So, if you're doing something, you need to stop and literally listen to this episode, because if you're a parent, then you don't want to miss it. It's just one of those things that I'm really passionate about. I truly believe in prevention, not the cure. And I truly believe in, looking for a root cause. So today's guest is all about, she believes in finding the root cause, and, she doesn't believe in concealing or putting a band-aids, rather go to the root cause and using the modalities that are available to us. So today we're going to meet our, certified transformational coach, Maria. She is a mom herself of two boys who helps other moms heal from postpartum depression, anxieties, without use of medications. Now, disclaimer here, that doesn't mean that we're not saying that you don't, you stop taking your medications, but we are just saying that there are alternate routes as well. And you might also want to give it a shot, with taking your medications, and of course, consult your health professionals and everything. And so with her unique coaching approach that blends, and I'm not going to say what exactly that she blends because I want that to be surprised, but she also focuses on self-compassion work and, her deep knowledge of maternal mental health. She actually really is like a healing god, I want to say, a healing angel who is helping us, parents like us, heal our own inner childhood traumas and break free from dysfunctional familial patterns and eliminate shame and guilt. So, Maria, welcome to our show. I'm super excited to have you and can't wait to hear your wisdom of nuggets and, share with other moms and parents, moms and dads, everyone out there.
Oh, thank you, Mital. That was such a sweet introduction, and I'm really excited to be on and to share with your audience everything that I can share with them.
You got a lot. Trust me. I know that you got a lot, and everybody's gonna be super super stoked when they hear the modality that we're talking about. Before I dive into it, I want to share that I have a personal story. The reason I got into parent coaching is because I have witnessed what disconnected childhood looks like, what childhood trauma feels like. My husband suffered from depression and anxiety for almost a decade, where he also ended up on a substance abuse route because he didn't know how to work with his depression and anxieties. So on to numb his emotions and the feelings that, sometimes he wasn't feeling anything because he was depressed, and sometimes he was feeling a little too much when he was anxious. He didn't know what to do with those at a young age. So he ended up on the substance abuse. He just got onto that because he wanted to numb the pain. He couldn't handle it. I wish I knew 10 years ago so that we could heal his inner child and work through his trauma at an early phase, but it's never too late. I know that there is a space and a time for medications, and healthcare is much needed, but I'm also a firm believer of using different modalities that can, help us find the root cause. And instead of putting a band-aid on, let's just heal from within, right? So I appreciate your work. So without taking a further ado, I want to open up that surprise box and tell everyone, what is that special modality that you use in your coaching, and how that helps moms heal from, depression and anxieties.
Yeah, so I'm an EFT coach, and if you haven't heard
Mm.
of EFT before, it stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, or tapping is another way people refer to it. And so what I love about it is that it's simple, it's painless, doesn't require that many points on your body. And so what we
Mm.
do is we're using points that you would use in acupuncture, your meridian points, and we
Mm.
tap on them while talking about the negative, what the problem is. But what's really cool, which something I didn't know up until recently, is that the meridians are actually our autonomic nervous system, which is
Ah, look at
amazing. They're one
that.
and the same. Yeah, that's why it works so well. It's a fantastic somatic therapy because you are tapping directly on your nervous system while you're
Mm,
saying this. So you're providing your nervous system with this rhythmic tapping, you are providing it with safety, and you're able to recount the event that happened in a safe environment instead of in that traumatizing environment. And
mhm,
sometimes we don't even have to go into the event. There's different techniques where we don't even
mhm,
have to have you talk about the event because if it's too traumatizing, we don't want to take you there. We
mm.
will bring you down before we even take you there. So that's another amazing thing about EFT is that we are not going to re-traumatize you when we're working on it, which is something I love.
That's amazing. So I will tell you, I did know a little bit about EFT. I was introduced to EFT and I've learned about tapping. I even practiced a little. I think I learned from Gabby Bernstein. I don't remember where, when, how, but there was like the touch points that you touch by
Mhm.
the eyebrows, by the collarbone, by the ears and stuff. It helped me be present. And so, like how you're saying that it touches the nervous system, no wonder it helps us because it is helping us regulate our nervous system. Coming from a science background, I love that this also has some logical explanations because, of course, I know that I get very skeptical when I learn about new modalities. Like, okay, how do you know that it works? Right?
Yeah.
You got to have some research, you got to have some data, you got to have something that you can say, okay, there's a study done, or, it actually works. So I'm glad that you brought up a point about nervous system. You did mention that, yeah, of course, you don't wanna re-traumatize. Is there, like, a time? How long do we have to do it? How does it work? Like, I'm curious to know.
Yeah, so like when I have a client come in and let's say we are dealing with a trauma, I will ask them, are they able to talk about it? Or would that make them feel so traumatized they're unable to talk about it? And I'll have them rate it from like on a scale of 1 to 10, right? If they tell me it's like a 10 or a 20, like then we're not talking about it. So we have different techniques. There's these three techniques with trauma. There is a movie technique where we sort of pretend that whatever happened is like a movie. So it's almost like a third person. You depersonalize it. That's as if you're watching a movie. You're not really participating. You give it a name and you tap on the movie. There is the tell the story technique. That's when you kind of are more ready to talk about it and you tell it as a story while you're tapping. And the one for when you really can't talk about it is called tearless trauma, where we're not even really talking about the trauma. I'm not even asking them to really remember it. We're just saying that pretend you had to think about it. What number would you give it? Okay. And then we just say this trauma, like I might bring in some details if they brought in some details, but basically we're not going to talk about it up until that number of theirs goes down enough that we can move into the technique where we talk more about it. Right. So if they tell me they went from a 10 to a 5, I'm gonna ask them, like, "Are we ready then for the movie technique? Can you say it's a movie and give the movie a name?" We'd work on that and ask them, "What number is it now? Did it go down?" If it went down enough that they can finally talk about it, they can tell me, like, "Yes, I can talk about it without my body pretty much going into shock." That's when we move on to the tell the story technique. Now, there's no prescribed time how long that takes, right? It all depends on the person, depends on the severity of the trauma. You can get there in one session, you might have to take multiple sessions to get there. All depends on the person. But there are these very gentle techniques where we literally don't even have to talk about it. If the person is in such distress, they can't even bring themselves to remember what happened. And that's the other cool part, right? Like, if there's some trauma that they don't remember, like, sometimes some childhood traumas, right? Our
Right.
brains yeah, bury them. They're like, "I'm not touching that." I don't even have
Mhm.
to know about it. We just need to know, "Oh, there's a trauma," and we'll just tap on it until maybe the brain is ready to surface the memory.
Wow. So I really like that. It's like we are, getting attuned to our body, to
Mhm.
our consciousness. We're kind of becoming more self-aware of ourselves.
Yeah.
Because there are times where, for example, I didn't know that, for a long time that I'm afraid of rejections. I come across as a very confident person and, I'm a go-getter, so I'll go get it. And I am. But then I noticed that for me to invite someone on podcast, I used to push it off because I didn't want to hear no. And I used to always give different reasoning, like, my schedule doesn't meet up with other people's schedule and this and that. And then one day I said, you know what? I'm going to have to journal this out. And that's when I learned that, it's the fear. I'm afraid of rejection. Well, then I had to, like, how far, where is this coming from? It's coming from childhood, from when I was 14. I wouldn't have known if I didn't have journal, or, I went through therapy as well and came across that, and I have a lot of other blocks, and it's just like you don't know until you revisit sometime. And I really like what you mentioned, that, there is the gentle way of doing it. Like, you don't talk about trauma until the person is ready to feel that in their body, or, until they're ready to talk about it, so that doesn't traumatize them again.
Mhm.
That's so neat. Okay, now I understand that there is no, no prescription. Would you ever say that a person is healed completely from trauma?
I mean, from a piece of trauma, right? Like you could move past a lot of it. What I have found with EFT for myself and for a lot of other people is that things like trauma or discovering what's underneath, it's almost like peeling an onion. Because
That's
when
what
you
I wanted
start
to hear.
yeah, because when you start opening it up, you might actually get to the core of it that you didn't even realize was
Correct.
there, right? So you can heal that trauma. Does that gonna mean you're gonna be completely healed from everything? Probably not, because all of us have sustained multiple traumas. Sometimes it's
Mhm.
one big event, right, that we're aware of, but sometimes it's multiple events. Like it doesn't have to be big T trauma for it to really make a dent in our system and to be stored,
Yeah.
right? So I think you can get healed from a specific trauma for sure.
Mhm.
But are you ever going to be truly healed? I don't know. I don't think
Yay!
that's ever possible, right? I think that's the
All
whole
right.
point. We heal
It's
as much as we can in our lifetime. But
amazing. That's a perspective that I wanted to bring up, and I'm so glad that you're sharing. It's like I feel like, oh, I am heard. Because I truly believe there's no such thing as I'm healed. It is a process. It is a journey. That's why we say I am healing. Like how you said, you might reach a layer, and then you might realize, like, oh, there's something else to work on. Oh, there's another breakthrough, right? And so we're always work in progress. And I think that's what the life means. Like, it's about work in progress. And that's why we have coaches like you who takes us through this, whole onion peeling layers of the, the traumas, and, help us move forward instead of just entertaining our past. And
yeah.
so I love these kind of modalities that help us work through what's been, and at the same time focus what's next, what's the future, what steps can I take to move forward. So now, have you ever, or do you think we can use EFT with kids?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've used it with my children a lot. I even participated recently in a collection where we created different tools for kids. And one of them
Wow.
was I created a tapping for anxiety for kids. Specifically, I basically used simpler language to do it for them. There's two ways to do it with kids.
Mm.
So, your older and more willing kid can follow you and do the tapping with you. So you just use simpler language when you do it, but they can basically do the same points and everything. Now, if you have a younger kid who is perhaps unable to participate due to a physical or mental disability or whatever reason, they're just not able to
Like
participate.
developmentally, they're not
Yeah.
there. Right.
Yeah, they're not there. They're younger. They don't want to, like
Mhm.
my sons are 4 and almost 7. And while my 7-year-old will maybe entertain the idea of me tapping on him
Mhm.
for like 10 seconds, he will run off. My younger son won't even let me touch him or
Mm.
do it himself. So what you can do is called surrogate tapping, which is you're tapping on yourself, but you're tapping it for your child.
Wait. I love this idea. Say it again. Did you just say it again?
Yeah, so it's called surrogate tapping. And so you
Wow.
can tap on yourself for somebody else. And we usually use it with, you can use it with kids, you can use it with people who are, let's say, in a state where they're unable to do it themselves, right?
Mm.
Like somebody might be paralyzed and they can't tap
Mm.
on themselves. That doesn't mean they can't benefit from tapping. You can do it for
Wow.
yourself and send your intention and energy to them. That's where it gets a little less scientific, right? Because
Yeah,
it's
no,
about
no.
our energies and how our energies are connected because we are all interconnected as one energetic
Mhm.
field. And who are you more connected to than your own child, right? Especially as a
Mhm.
mom, as a dad, you are connected to them and you can absolutely tap on yourself, send that intention to them. And that way they could still receive benefits, which is what I do for mine because they will not sit still for me.
I really, really love that. So I totally come from a science background, but I also believe a lot in the frequencies that we send because I'm a big nerd of human design.
I love
And it's
it.
all about energy, right? It's all
Mhm.
about how we're broadcasting the energy and how we're receiving the energy, right? What kind of energy we're giving and what kind of energy we're receiving. And so I truly believe in that. And of course, I believe in intentions, as a parent or, just even a caretaker of your adult parents or, grandparents, just like doing prayers for someone, right? It's
Yep.
like similar thing. You are actually working, doing something, sending meditations and prayers someone's way. And here you're doing tapping for someone. I love the concept. I'm like super fascinated right now. It's like my brain is just like, what? Okay, who can I do the tapping for now?
Definitely for your children,
I know
when
this is amazing because I also know that from this, I would ask the way you do it for kids because I know you have strong-willed kids,
yes.
boys
Yeah.
specifically. My
Yes.
little one is a strong-willed, assertive 5-year-old. He knows what he wants. And he also gets like very frustrated and, easily his default emotion is anger. I'm a firm believer in emotional intelligence for our kids and guiding them on how to, feel it's okay to feel the emotions that they're feeling and and let them experience the whole spectrum of emotions because when they feel emotions with us it will be okay for them to feel them when they're older when they're adulting. Is there anything that we can do for anger? Let me just ask you short and sweet, like how do you work with that kid who
Oh,
are strong-willed?
it's hard because mine are not only strong-willed, my eldest has ADHD, so our
Mm,
impulse control is very limited, and anger is the dominating emotion too, and
same.
it's really hard. So, I do use surrogate tapping when I can on him, like, sometimes before going to bed, or if they're, like, let's say, going to bed and I'm sitting with them, and I'll just tap for them while I'm there. I focus it on the anger and I focus it with the best intention because my intention isn't necessarily to change the behavior, but my
Right.
intention is to help him not feel so angry. So I
Right.
usually tap on like, even though I'm so angry, my mommy still loves me, or like, even
Ah.
though I completely lost my cool, like, I'm still a good boy, like things like that. And I'll just tap like my anger, my maybe impulsivity, like I'll just use like short words to help
Mm-hmm.
kind of calm his system down. Now it's a work in process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even with EFT, I cannot change the fact that he has ADHD and
For
he's
sure.
incredibly impulsive, right? But I have noticed that days after I do this, the next day, he's just even the tiniest bit less impulsive and less easy to anger. And I'll take that, as a
Oh.
win anytime. And I also then use EFT on myself because the amount of times that I have become dysregulated after this wave of anger was unleashed on me, right? And then I can't
Mm.
regulate myself. Then I would sit down and I would tap on my own EFT of the fact of how am I so dysregulated and how angry and sad and everything I am, release my emotions, and then I'm able to be more present for him a little bit later. So, like,
Yes.
2
Oh,
ways that you can help yourself and your child because you kinda need it, like, a lot of anger it's hard to handle in the
for
house.
for sure. I love that the fact that you bring that, we also do get dysregulated because again, the energy that we have around us, we easily just hop onto the train. A train of tantrums or, a train of anger is just right next to us. So of course, we're feeling the same and it is hard to be calm and to be present and it only comes with practice. It's not about shaming ourselves that how can I be dysregulated or how can I get so angry? It's a practice. It's just going to take the work. Just reminding ourselves it is hard thing and I can do hard things. And then like you're giving us I love the wonderful tip and I love that language by the way you're talking about. So for mom and dads, you're listening to us, go check out her page. It is Parenting on Board
It's
and we
parent
will
on board.
parent on board, sorry.
Yeah.
And so we are leaving all the Look at me. I'm just so excited. Like I just want to just go on and on. And so check out Maria on Parent on Board at Parent on Board. And we're gonna leave all her website links and the social medias where you can find her. The fact that this helps us regulate ourselves and where we can be, present so we can co-regulate our child, bang on. It's
Oh, yeah.
amazing. This
It
is
is.
incredible, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone tells us, you go, there's unsolicited advice. Make sure you stay calm.
Mhm,
Do
mhm.
this.
Yeah.
Stop. Pause. I understand, but it's also so hard
It is.
when specifically like a child is dysregulated. We hopped under the same dysregulation train, and now it's just like two dysregulated people cannot regulate each other, or
Oh,
they
yeah.
cannot even regulate themselves.
Yeah.
And so yes, it is about stepping back and using tools like EFT to calm ourselves, calm our nervous system down, like how you mentioned earlier. This is about tapping on our nervous system. It's like a rhythmic touch points
Yeah.
to our nervous system. And so that helps us regulate, that helps us come to our regulation, that helps us calm down. So now we can co regulate with our child.
Yeah, and that's what I used it for too, because like, you earlier said about shame. I had a lot of shame about the fact that how dysregulated I was. And that's what I
Mm,
used to tap on after we'd have our blowout fights where I would sit and cry for like an hour while tapping on
mm,
all the shame that was sitting inside. And the thing is, the more I did it, the less that shame started coming up. So, you know how we're talking about healing? I feel like
yeah.
I'm pretty much healed that shame piece. I no longer have it. I can't
Mm,
say I never get dysregulated when he's dysregulated, but it's easier for me to come out of it. And it's also easier for me not to get as dysregulated as I did before. Because the
mm,
thing is, when we get dysregulated, it's such a spiral and it's such a quick
right.
one, too,
Right.
right? We can't stop ourselves. The thing is why I love this and why it works so well is because what happens is like when we're dysregulated, what happens? Our nervous system is in fight or flight, right? Our nervous system does not see that it's our child yelling at us. It could be a bear, like,
Right.
growling at us. Our amygdala is like danger, danger, danger,
Right.
right? And that's where you bring in the EFT to be like, you could even stand there and tap in the moment because the cool part is they might look at you and be like, "Oh, what's mom doing? What did I do
Exactly.
it?" Right? But you're breaking the pattern, and it's just so impactful because I tried breathing while
Mm-hmm.
he was doing it, and I'm like, "I can't even access that part of me because I am so angry at this
Mm-hmm.
little mini me that's yelling at me that, like, I can't even breathe, and he can't
Mm-hmm.
breathe. Nobody can breathe, right? But I can tap, and I can start bringing myself down. Now when I'm bringing myself down, I can all of a sudden bring breath in.
Mm.
So that's what I love about it, that it's easy to access when you need it in those, like, moments of, everything just blew up.
Yeah, during that heat of the moment, it's hard to breathe. It's like that, five sense meditation, because
Mhm.
now what you're doing, we're using all our five senses. We're using the voice, we're using that sound, we're using the ears, and we're touching the points. It's like we are concentrating all our senses to our nervous system, trying to calm it down instead of just the breath. And then
Yeah.
eventually the breathing piece comes along once our bodies calmed down. I have to tell you again and again, and this is my favorite piece of modality now on. I'm gonna have to geek into it. I'm gonna have to just go after you and learn everything and start practicing it, because it's a really practical tool to have in our toolbox. Because I do a lot of conscious parent work, and there's a lot of inner child work, and I understand that in our information world right now we have gentle parenting, respectful parenting, connection parenting, positive, all kinds of parenting. But we also have to understand that parenting is a challenging leadership. And so,
Yeah,
have you mentioned earlier, when we do it, our kids are seeing us, so they will model. And that's what conscious parenting is about. It's about modeling for them the behavior that we want them to adopt. Why don't we do it for them? Because I truly believe that whether it's children or adult, we all learn by living.
yeah,
Right.
I
And
agree.
so if when they see it, they might start doing it, they might experience difference. So they might be like, okay, this might become their coping skill. You never
Mhm.
know. This might give them the relief, like how you mentioned, sometimes it's hard to catch the breath
Yeah.
because we're so much into the different wheel and the frequency. It's hard for us to come back. So I am super fascinated. So, Maria, this is amazing. And I'm so glad that you came and, you shared such an amazing tool with us and our audience. Parents are going to be thrilled knowing this. And we're going to have to follow you to
Oh,
learn
yes,
more
please.
about these things. So, tell us, how do you work? Who do you work with? And what are some of the exciting projects that you have for this year?
Yeah, so I mean, I primarily focus on moms because my
Mm,
belief is that we can help if we can help moms, then we can help the whole family. Now,
yes.
I am more than happy to do sessions with kids too, but moms are my passion. I want to focus on moms. I do one-on-one sessions. They're all virtual, so I have two different packages. I have a more structured package for moms if they want to sort of go on this motherhood journey and essentially remake motherhood into the way that they would like. And then they have a smaller package, which is EFT only tapping, so
Mm,
that if you have like a specific problem right now that you're coming up across, this is a great package because it's uniquely tailored to you. I will ask you kind of what the problem is. We're going to work away on that problem and see what else comes up. My favorite part is that somebody usually comes with me with a problem, and then it blossoms into something completely different. They're like,
wow.
I've never even thought of this being as an issue, right?
I think
So
that's the beauty of coaching, right?
mhm,
We like when someone comes for a coaching session, they think they need A,
yeah,
but during the exploration, they're like, I never thought about B.
yeah,
That's what I'm looking for. Like, we always go for what's underneath the iceberg. And I absolutely have to agree with you that that's just the art of coaching.
yeah,
That we think I need this, but when you do the work, you find out like, oh no, there's
yeah.
something totally different than what I'm looking at.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, so I love doing that. I love working one-on-one with my mamas. Like, I've had such great progress with a lot of people and very different. Sometimes they come in for one problem and we end up doing something business related
Mm,
eventually because it relates to that. Sometimes we clear out one problem so fast that we're like, oh, we have sessions left over. What else would we like to work on? Right?
right.
Like, you never know with EFT, it can go fast in some problems, it can go slow in some problems.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it takes a few sessions to really see any sort of progress. But sometimes, yeah, things move really fast because you're so ready to get
Right.
through it that your body's like, finally, I got the release. Oh my God, please, let's
Mm-hmm.
continue. Right. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love doing and working with other moms. So,
So I'm so glad. Thank you, Maria, for bringing that up. So, if you're one of those, who is looking to add another tool in your toolbox, because we all know parenting is hard
yes.
and no one sat us down and taught us how to parent. And even if they would have taught us, who knew that we would have strong-willed child, right? In my and Maria's case, right? It's because I totally believe there's no one size fits solution for parents. We all have a unique journey, we all have unique child, and so our parenting journey is also unique. And again, parenting is also not about being a perfect parent. And that's why we here at Race to Rise, we bring you all different, kinds of learnings here. And that, we fill your toolbox with tools like how Maria brought today, EFT, which we never shared on our podcast here. So I am so thankful, Maria, for bringing this new piece of guidance for us and a tool for us to keep it in our toolkit as a parent, which can help us on a regular on a daily basis and start doing this. So for those of you who are looking to learn more about EFT, go check out Maria's page, and all the links and details are in the show notes. And I am super 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 grateful and excited for everyone who is actually going to give it a try. I know I will.
Oh, thank you.
So
I'm looking forward to it. I love making new connections and helping people use this tool because it really is amazing.
it sure is. And the language that you shared about, helping with kid, I am so curious, and I'm gonna have to hop off of this call and hop onto the call with you because I want to know like how does that work with kids, because I would love to give another coping skill. You never know what works best for him. He does, my little one does breathing and everything, but it doesn't hurt. This is a
No, it doesn't.
natural thing. There is no side effects to it.
Nope,
All
none
you're
whatsoever.
yeah, the only side effect is you might become more aware of yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want that, go
Yep,
for
yep,
it,
that is definitely a side effect.
but a good one.
Yep,
So thank
absolutely.
you, Maria, for your wisdom, and we appreciate your presence and your gifts.
No, thank you so much for having me and letting me share this with you.
Absolutely. That's that's it for this week's episode of Race to Rise. Be sure to sign up to our email list at risewithmittal.com and join us again next time for more wisdom about life, kids, and everything in between. I am Mittal Patel, wishing you happy raising and rising.